Hi, I'm MarzGurl.
And I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
And welcome to episode 36 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover episode 36 of City Hunter, titled, A College Girl Plays Hardball for Love. Someone is trying to kill me.
Oh, that's not good.
No, it's terrible. Protect women, Kaylin.
This is a thing that happens pretty frequently.
Usually somebody is in dire need of help, and this week, for at least half the episode, we're not sure what kind of help is actually needed.
At least this woman is an adult.
Thank God. She's the same age as Cowdy.
Thereabouts. If we assume that Kaori is still 20, then yes.
Well, she's going to hit a birthday at some point within the next several episodes if that doesn't carry over into season 2. So no, I do believe she is still 20 at this point.
Right.
But much like the episode itself, we'll go ahead and get right into the problem this week. So at the top, we're introduced to our target, or really the person that Ryo is needing to protect this week, which is a girl by the name of Yukari Masayuki, 20 years old, and she believes that she is currently being targeted and is trying to prevent being murdered, but unfortunately, every time she runs into a situation where she's about to be murdered, it really takes a toll on her mood, and then she makes a couple of suicide attempts.
I guess she would just rather get it over with than be straight up murdered in a really terrible situation. I guess that's the preference.
I mean, in general,
Just get it over with?
I can't say that I don't understand what she's going through. Like, when a certain amount of things
You've
go...
had people try to murder you?
Well, no, just really the idea of when a certain number of things keep going wrong for you, the will to live drastically goes down. I mean, that's just real talk right there.
I mean, I guess, but if somebody's trying to murder you, my response is not, well, I guess I'll die. It's just, well, I would rather these people did not try to murder me.
Well, currently at the moment, the whole reason she needs help to begin with is from her perspective, there doesn't seem to be a way out of it. So yes, at the very top of the episode, Yukari's mother, who we never get a name for, she's just kind of mom, contacts City Hunter and has a conversation with Cowdy and Ryo about this situation and asks, please, she's already tried twice, thank God somebody else intervened, but we need somebody to look after her, please look after her. And of course, Ryo agrees because she is 1, 20, and 2, very cute.
So I guess she has left kinda sorta a suicide note?
Yes, it's a note that she left with her mother and ran off earlier in the day. Now the note is written in French and Cowdy translates it as is written there in the subtitles, and this is what Cowdy says. The note is translated as I'm going to die, but since we can clearly read what's written on the note, it says Je vais me suicider. I assume I'm pronouncing that last word right. Literally translated.
I don't know, with the R at the end, you might not even pronounce it. I don't even know. I don't speak French.
I don't speak French either, but you know who does? Google.
You know what? Then I'm going to listen to what Google Translate says the pronunciation is.
Je vais me suicider.
Suicider.
Suicider, okay. So, je vais me suicider.
Je vais me suicider.
Suicider. Yeah. So that pronunciation is not suicider. It's just suicider.
Suicider sounds more like a Japanese robot from the 80s.
It doesn't sound like a very cool robot.
No, that robot needs therapy. But no, literally what she says in the note is, I'm going to kill myself. So this further impresses on everybody else that she is in fact trying to take her own life.
Yeah, they've gotten the impression the whole time, like, even if Kaori says, oh, the note says I'm going to die, they're clearly under the impression that what she means is I'm going to die by killing myself.
So immediately Ryo races off to where Yukari's location is. I don't know how he knew where she would go. He just happened to figure that out.
I'm going to assume that this was off camera and that her mom was like, well, I know someplace she likes to go. That just seems like a very clear thing that could be a very real possibility.
So we see Yukari wistfully looking off into the distance, looking very somber, and she looks like she's contemplating suicide.
But she's kind of just sitting there.
Yeah, she's not actively looking like she's going to do anything just yet.
Yeah, she's just sitting, doing actively nothing.
And Ryo shows up and immediately tries to prevent her from doing anything that might cause her harm. When she sees him, she sidesteps and sends him over the edge of the cliff.
He's just hanging on for dear life. He's not actually really thinking about the rocky rocky, watery cliffs below for a little while until she's already taking off. She's just left him hanging there because she really believes he's the one there to kill her. So she takes off, leaves him hanging there, and then he cartoonishly Wile E. Coyote runs back up the side of this cliff.
So to go ahead and make that clear here for the episode, there's a big misunderstanding for the bulk of it in that everybody is under the impression that Yukari is trying to take her own life, but in actuality, she, based off evidence we get later in the episode, is in a place where she believes that her life is in danger, which it is, and that has sent her into a place where she thinks she needs to do it herself because it's too much to deal with. Because she does need help, and her whole problem, really the crux of the problem with the episode this week, is that she doesn't know how to ask for help.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So Rio just kind of has to follow her around everywhere she goes just to make sure that she doesn't end up killing herself. And she's just over here like, I do not know why this dude is following me everywhere, and he's just kind of irritating. So he's followed her all the way back to her college campus.
An all-women's college. And Rio does decide to go ahead and make a comment about how he likes the smell of college women.
Well, at least they are women and not girls.
Still kind of creepy.
It's weird. Also, he's a dude on an all-women's campus. I don't know how he thought that wasn't just gonna come off as weird.
And because he's the only male there on the campus, immediately the guard mother or whoever it is guarding the campus immediately comes up to him and like, hey stranger, what are you doing here? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, my card. And he's got one of these official City Hunter cards that he carries around on him.
Business cards, yes.
It's got the logo on there. It's got his name.
It's not the first time he's done it. I mean, pretty sure that was like episode 1 he was doing that.
Well, yeah, we've seen that he has officially licensed City Hunter merchandise going around. He's got mugs. He's got the business cards.
Like, really, we've asked before, oh, how did this little girl know how to contact City Hunter? And now I'm starting to think, how does anybody not know who City Hunter is, where he lives, what his phone number is? If he just goes around giving out this business card and he tells the security guard lady, like, oh, I'm Saiba Rio.
I'm City Hunter.
I'm City Hunter, and I'm a sweeper.
I'm the top sweeper in the city.
And, of course, she misunderstands what sweeper means, but that having been said, he didn't even bother trying to hide who he was and what he does. So if he's just walking around telling everybody who he is and what his business is, then maybe I'm not so surprised that people can just find him anymore.
So as you would figure, the guard lady doesn't know what a sweeper is, so she immediately defaults to, oh, are you the new janitor? And Rio just rolls with it.
He's like, oh yeah, the janitor, he got his appendix bitten by a dog. Like the dumbest excuse.
The worst excuse.
And then he leaves. Just to try and find Yukari again. What, is she coming out of the bathroom or something? Or...
She's coming out of the chemical supply room there at the school, which it's not going to make a lot of sense why she's coming out of there, but she happens to be walking out of the chemical supply room, and Rio catches her like, hey, I need to help you. You seem like you need help. She's like, what are you doing here? And he's like, being creepy is what I'm good at. But really what he means is following people around is part of my job. Because, you know, being a sweeper is kind of like being a detective, except not quite.
So he technically hasn't done anything super wrong yet, but it is still really weird. So she just screams to say there's some pervert in here, and he really hasn't done a lot of perving just yet. But to be fair, you are still a weird dude on an all-girls college campus, so...
And to be fair, you are a pervert. We know this about you.
You just haven't done it yet.
But give him 2 seconds. Because literally, as a mob of women with, you know, whatever accoutrements they've got lying around, you know, baseball bats,
books,
tennis rackets, whatever, they just descend upon him and start beating the living crap out of Rio. And I don't know whether or not he did this on purpose, but he does manage to grab one set of boobs.
I am pretty sure that he has done it on purpose because they won't stop kicking his ass, and he just needed some kind of a diversion to get out. Because, you know, he grabs this woman's boobs, and then she stops beating on him to scream. So that has
naturally,
given him,
that's the right reaction.
So that has given him the opportunity to GTFO. And I don't think it was necessarily...
Yeah, we don't condone that. No grabbing of the boobs.
Okay, that's not what I was saying. I mean, I agree with you, but that's not what I was saying. I don't think it was necessarily grabbing the boobs to do the heh I'm grabbing boobs, but I do think it was an escape plan.
On some level, I do believe that Rio can be in control of his inner motivations and desires, just most of the time he chooses not not to. Because on average, let's be fair, he is horny on main all of the time. But we've seen in a lot of situations kind of like this one, but in other ones a lot more clearly, he uses his attraction to women as a diversion from what he's really trying to do.
That's true.
And unfortunately, this unfortunate grabbing only gets him so far down the hall, and then the lady who was talking to him earlier, the guard lady, catches him again and then tries to hose him down with a fire extinguisher.
Which, she does successfully, but also she doesn't know where he went through all of the fire extinguishing.
So now Rio's jumped out the window and now he's completely white.
I'm not super sure that that's how a fire extinguisher works.
Well, some older CO2 ones I think work like that.
I guess so. I guess that would be true.
Well, the way I was saying it when we were watching the episode is when you have to investigate a women's college at 4, but you have to be in the video for Take On Me at 5, is how he looks right now.
Or you end up in cells at work.
As a white blood cell.
As a white blood cell. That's how white Rio was. Completely white. And then he sees our girl that he's been pursuing this whole time.
Yeah, Yukari is sitting out by the lake that this college has, and she seems to be getting ready to take something. We can't see what exactly. And Rio's like, no, don't do it. You have so much to live for. And just plows right past her, grabs whatever's in her hand, and goes face first into the lake. And it's like, no, what are you doing? You shouldn't be taking this stuff. Don't you know what it could do to you? And she's like, you mean eye drops? And looks down at his hands like, oh, that is all that is. Well, damn. So now it's only at this point, at this part of the episode, where we're finally getting it cleared up that Yukari not only is in danger, but the danger's making her feel this way about herself, wanting to end everything, unfortunately. But she again repeats to Rio, wait, so you're not here to kill me? Like this whole time she's just immediately automatically assumed that Rio is here as an assassin, which of course he isn't. But it's weird. I guess in order to make up for everything, they decide they need a change of scenery and head to an amusement park.
I don't know, maybe Rio just sort of thought that this was gonna cheer her up.
I mean, maybe.
It does seem really random, though.
Yeah, was it the right move, though? Like, hey, sorry about the misunderstanding and the mob and the pervert stuff and what everything's going on in your life.
Do you want to go on the
Ferris wheel?
On the Ferris wheel.
Oh, but we don't want to forget what's on the Ferris wheel.
Oh, yeah, the fucking M&Ms, man.
Big ass advertisement.
We're back at M&Ms. Again, it's not even the only time you see M&Ms this episode. There will be more later.
But there's a really big one on the side. Like this Ferris wheel brought to you by M&M's.
Right in the center. Right in the center where, the rotation happens. Right in the middle, M&M's. City Hunter, once again, has clearly gotten quite the partnership with M&M's.
Mars Company, who owns M&M's, yeah. They must have worked out some kind of deal. You can't ignore that right in the middle there of this scene.
Or just the number of times they do it this whole season. The number of times they do it this episode, which is more than once. And it's weird that it happened twice.
So after the amusement park, which they're only there for seemingly just to get on the Ferris wheel and have a drink real quick, they head back to Rio's apartment where Yukari thinks she needs another drink and she decides to get into Rio's good stuff, like the expensive liquor.
She really starting to give the speech of, I just want a drink to forget.
Yeah, and going along with that is part of the reason that she feels this way is not only do I feel bad about having myself be in danger from somebody trying to murder me and then me feeling like, well, I need to take my own life, just my dad.
Fuck my dad. Not even my real dad.
He doesn't care.
Actually, she doesn't really get into the part where it's not her real dad just yet, but she does start getting all weepy about it, and she genuinely believes that her stepdad is trying to murder her.
Right, so her stepdad, who they spoke about at the very beginning of the episode, he's a man by the name of Eizo Masaki, who married her mother, who unfortunately lost her previous husband. So he, like we just said, is the stepdad to Yukari, and for whatever reason, she had a pretty decent upbringing, but the two of them just never got along very well. And she's over here complaining, yeah, he doesn't care about me. Whatever's going on with me, if somebody's trying to take my life, he doesn't care.
And that's what has led her to believe that he's the one trying to do the murderings.
Or hire someone to murder her.
Or something along those lines. She's explained in pretty great detail, hey, here's a time that somebody tried to murder me. There's There's a really great animation sequence, actually, of her just trying to, like, leave a parking garage.
Right, so she says there's 2 times that she's within, I guess she says the past week, where somebody tried to take her life. The first one, right, is at the garage.
The animation is really, really good inside this garage, where she can see that there's another car in this garage that is just going full speed, clearly aiming directly for her. So she gets on her motorcycle, which we've seen a couple of times now. It's a really well-detailed motorcycle.
I think it's a Suzuki.
It could very well be a Suzuki.
Doesn't matter.
We've seen her helmet at some point in the episode, and it's a Shohei.
A Shuei, yeah.
Shohei, yeah. And she's just trying to go back out of the garage. I guess it's several stories tall, and she's going down and out. And you know how parking garages are built. You kind of go out in like a circular sort of a fashion. And she's speeding around these corners. You see her kind of drift a little bit and
really
take
smooth
off.
Drift.
Really smooth motorcycle drift. Well, the car is not too terribly far behind her, and it also kind of peels out and is following around every time they circle. So they reuse this animation like 3 times to show she's gone in this circle like 3 times down to get out of this garage. But especially on the third reuse of the animation, it's really fast, and the car chasing her is much closer behind her this time.
Well, it feels like they used the same animation, but they changed it just a little.
Well, that's what I'm telling you, is that now it's faster, and now the other car is decidedly closer behind her. They've just changed when the car appears in frame. And by the time she's at the bottom, there's just the one way out, and so she jumps off the motorcycle, like she lets it slide into these parked cars, somehow managing to not damage the motorcycle. And she jumps off and like ducks behind these cars.
Yeah, ducks in between 2 cars.
And then this car that's been chasing her just speeds off outside of the garage, like clearly they did not successfully run her over. And that animation sequence, for what it's worth, was pretty incredible.
Yeah, really smooth. A lot of frames per second on that one, making it look even crisper as they're going around those corners.
Very kind of getting close to Akira territory. Close, not like it's not quite there, but for TV's sake, like
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
This is pretty good for primetime TV. And then the second one, we don't know how long later, it might have even been the same day, is we see her back on the motorcycle riding down the highway, and then the same car shows up. And this time we see who's actually in the car. It's this dude with long curly hair, but his face kind of looks like a Japanese Jack Nicholson, you know, with the sunglasses and everything.
Pulls out a gun on her and shoots at her, and just manages to hit a rear view mirror. And thankfully that's about it.
But it's enough to spook her pretty bad. And so both of these times after these events have happened, that's what's pushed her to feel like her life wasn't worth living, because someone is in fact trying to take her life. And again, she's telling Rio, look, these 2 guys, they have to have been hired by my dad. My dad's behind this. I don't know what's going on. I hate my dad. And lo and behold, these guys are actually downstairs again outside City Hunter's apartment, and they're just waiting, biding their time. And you would think by this point, because it's the late 80s, it's not like the technology doesn't exist, you'd think Rio would install a camera down there to see who's outside the apartment.
He just wants to have a nice home.
Yeah, but how many times has the bad guy just been waiting downstairs?
I don't know, like twice.
No, it's like 4 times at this point. It's enough times to question, would you like to install a security system? Because clearly you can afford the gun range, multiple different vehicles, and however much ammo you need. Also, vehicles, that reminds me, this episode we don't see the Mini, but we sure as hell see the Fiat.
I don't know, like at this point, is it even Kaori's car when Rio has decided, I'm just gonna drive your car now. I just think I'm gonna take your car today. Is it their car? Is it a shared car?
Did he put himself on the lease for the car, or is Cowdy
On the
making
insurance?
Yeah, is Cowdy making payments with Rio on that car? Like, what's going on?
I don't know.
So in the meantime, Cowdy has done the homework, letting Rio know about all of this stuff with the previous husband, and that there's a possibility that Azo may in fact be hiring these guys to take out Yukari for the insurance.
Of course, meanwhile, the mom totally doesn't believe it. She's just like, oh, there's no way. He is a little cold, but he cares about her. No, come on, no.
Now, the idea here is that the reasoning behind Yukari deciding to take her own life is that because she believes that Azo, her father, or stepfather, I should say, might be doing this for the insurance money, if the person who has a life insurance policy takes their own life, an insurance company will will not pay out on that.
Right.
So she's basically doing this to spite him.
I mean, part of it is spite, and the other part of it is a state of depression.
Well, yeah, because like Rio's saying, I think the whole reason she's doing this isn't because she's scared. I mean, obviously she is, but I think part of it too is that she's just love-starved. She just wants love from the stepdad.
It's kind of a nicer way of saying she's doing it for attention.
Well, a few minutes ago, before she explained all of this to him, Rio did have the opinion of her that she was doing this because she was spoiled. Like, he even calls her that.
I mean, I think that's wrong. I would say, given the circumstances, that is wrong.
I think this is the more accurate assessment, is that no, she's not only scared, but she's also in need of just some affection.
It's both of those things. Also, somebody's trying to murder her.
Yeah, there's also murder.
Pretty bad.
Somebody's trying to crime.
Somebody's trying to do a murder.
And we
perform a criming.
Yes, somebody is currently trying to perform a criming, and we need Rio to stop that.
Please.
So the next day we head over to the family mansion. There's always a mansion with this show. You know how many times we go to a mansion?
Well, I mean, think about the kind of people who can afford City Hunter.
Oh, that's true.
Usually, people with money.
Except that one kid with 500 yen.
Yeah, but also, like, she shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, and also how'd she get City Hunter's number? But besides that...
Like I told you before, now I'm over here like, I'm pretty sure he just gives it out to anyone he meets.
But Rio goes ahead, and before Eizo, the stepfather, can walk into this meeting that they've got set up, he goes ahead and bugs his landline phone, because he knows he's gonna need that later. And he presents all of this stuff to Eizo, like, hey, all this stuff's going on with your daughter. Is there any truth to you trying to kill her? And he's like, no, how could you ever say something like that? That's terrible. I deny the accusation. It's horrible. It's heinous. Like, yeah, my company's doing bad, but I wouldn't do anything to my daughter.
Anyway, I gotta go take this call.
Well, before he does, Rio asks him, doesn't it bother you that she's in danger? No, it doesn't. Get out. I gotta take a phone call. And so he does.
Because it bothers him that she's in danger. And he's talking to the people trying to kill her.
Japanese Jack Nicholson's on the line.
And it turns out, it's not him setting up the murder. It's not the stepdad setting up the murders. It's him trying to pay the nice men so that the murder is not a thing that happens.
Yeah, so basically what's happening is these two guys have decided to target Yukari in order to extort money out of Eizo.
I mean, clearly, as you said, oh my god, they live in a mansion. Well, the mansion people are loaded, so why not try and murder one of them in exchange for money?
Now, I will give credit where credit is due here to the crooks, because they have been smart enough to do the criming off screen. So as they're having this conversation with Eizo, they're like, alright, we want the money by this point, and don't worry about trying to find your daughter. We got her right here. Yeah.
So they're getting closer and closer to success, actually.
Yeah, they're not doing too bad for themselves. Because there was the first attempt in the garage, that didn't go so well. In the second attempt, they got close enough to get a shot off, and now they have successfully captured her.
And they've used masking tape to keep her mouth shut, which I guess is more comfortable than any other kind of tape they could have possibly used.
Okay, but as somebody who does a lot of crafts and things like that, masking tape is the easiest tape to get out of.
Yeah, that's what that's basically saying the same thing. It's just, I don't know why you chose the masking tape, but at least she's not gonna be totally miserable because it's just masking tape and not, like, Gorilla Tape across her face.
Well, because Gorilla Tape didn't exist yet, but I think it's pretty common across the board, no matter where you are in the world.
I wasn't really arguing that the Gorilla Tape existed, just that masking tape did, and it's easy.
Yeah, but I'm saying, I think the go-to worldwide is that when you've taken somebody hostage, you use duct tape to keep their mouth shut. Like, that's just kind of a given. Everybody understands you use duct tape.
But, Rio finds Kaori back at his apartment, who is also all tied up, and they seem to have also used the same masking tape, and he's pulling it off, and, like, it seems to take him a second.
If they used a lot of masking tape, it might make it a little harder.
It was one strip.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
It was a thick strip.
I mean,
like,
they do
masking tape is usually real thin rolls.
Well, sometimes for painter's tape, which is basically the same thing, you can sometimes get a thicker roll.
I guess.
Which makes me think that they borrowed the tape from somewhere. Like, they've got enough money for the car to try and run her down. They've got enough money for a couple of bullets to scare her. But where we're trying to save money is tape. And so Rio gets the tape off Coyote's face, and Coyote tells her, hey, they came and took her. And Rio's like, yeah, I kind of figured that. And he says, okay, I blame myself for this. I guess I got to take care of it. And again, we get another example of really good animation. Because he pulls the gun out of his holster.
And then he, like, flips open the
cylinder.
The chamber. Yeah. And then just rotates it. Just... I don't know if he actually loads it.
No, he just
He's just kind of
rotates
showing it off. He's just flipping through it like, haha, I've got a gun. And then he closes it back, he snaps it back up,
Yeah.
and then very smoothly, like, opens his jacket up and then slides the gun back into the jacket and then puts it away. Just the smoothest, hey, we did this just to show off kind of animation.
Like, this is another example within the last couple of weeks of the animation team really, flexing on us.
Yeah.
And yeah, it looks really smooth, but it's like, why'd you have to do that right there? Like, I'm here for it, but it's like, man, did y'all get a little extra in the paycheck this week? What's going on?
Yeah.
You guys are feeling yourselves this week in the art department. So now Azo has to go drop off the ransom at the predetermined site, which is some landfill on a hill by the ocean. So what they've done is the two guys have put Yukari in the back of the van that they've got, a different vehicle, on a hill facing the ocean, and they haven't put on the parking brake.
It's very deliberate. They know that they got her, and if they need to, they'll just push that van and just let it go. And meanwhile, stepdad has shown up driving a Volkswagen Beetle, a yellow Volkswagen Beetle.
He showed up driving Bumblebee.
He did show up 80s Bumblebee, which I think
Gen 1 Bumblebee.
They've gone back to Gen 1 Bumblebee a couple of times, and that's including the Bumblebee movie, right? Like, he was...
The newer one? Yeah.
Yeah, he was... they put him back as a Volkswagen for that.
Which I prefer.
That's the way it should be. We just needed to be playing the touch while this guy is driving all the way up. Yeah, that Transformers animated movie was out by this point.
It was, yeah.
So I'm gonna say that a yellow Volkswagen Beetle is probably very popular at about that time.
Yeah, so he shows up like, you got my kid! The two ransom guys are like, you got my money!
And he's like, yeah!
And that's your Transformers joke for the week. So yeah, he hands over the money, and they're like, alright, back away from the money and turn around. He's like, can I get my daughter back? And they're like, no.
Judo chop!
Yeah, so they cold cock him. Meanwhile, the whole time that this is going down, Cowdy and Rio are just off to the side with some bushes on top of the Fiat.
Just to try and hide the car, yeah.
But you can still tell it's a Fiat.
I mean, I don't think I would be fooled by some loose branches sitting awkwardly in a way that trees don't actually grow. But, these guys are stupid, so... who knows?
And Cowdy's like, are we going to do anything yet? And Rio's like, no, I want to see how this plays out. So the guys take the money, they drive off, but before they drive off, they set the van in motion. So now Yukari is perilously driving towards the ocean, in neutral. The stepdad's trying to get back up and stop the car, and Rio and Cowdy have to go after the two crooks. So first off in the action, Rio and Cowdy give chase. So they're on a hill just above the getaway car for the two crooks, and we're seeing that, Cowdy's got an American or an Western, I should say. A Western Fiat because the driver's side is on the left.
Yeah, this happens every so often. Even sometimes the Mini Cooper. Sometimes the steering wheel is on the left-hand side and sometimes it's on the right-hand side. I think it's just whatever the animators feel like that day. Whatever they think looks cool. And whatever it is that the car and the people in the car need to get done.
Right, so we're not saying like they have multiple Fiats. I just think it's an inconsistency where they're not really paying attention.
I do think it's an inconsistency. However, it's an inconsistency that causes, unintentionally by canon, for them to have at least two Fiats.
Unfortunately. I mean, I guess Rio might have that kind of money. Like, alright, I can have like 50,000 Mini Coopers. We can at least get a second Fiat. I'm gonna treat you this week, Cowdy. You get a second Fiat.
You get a foreign Fiat. I mean, the Fiat already is a foreign vehicle. But
it's foreign to Japan.
Yes, it's foreign to Japan. But what I mean is, like, if they're bringing over the car to Japan to be manufactured in Japan, they're gonna put the steering wheel on the right-hand side of the vehicle. Now, if they're importing the entire Fiat, then it could have its steering wheel on the left-hand side. That's what I'm telling you.
Okay, I get you. So Rio's having to shoot over Cowdy because the getaway car is to their left, to their immediate left, and Rio takes out the passenger side front tire and the driver's side back tire, causing the car to roll again. Smooth animation.
Gnarly animation, yeah.
Like, that was a sick roll.
All the denting and everything, and the tire blowout itself is crazy.
So we've effectively stopped the two crooks from getting away. Now we need to stop the van from rolling into the ocean.
Because now it's doing that. That's a thing that it's doing, and our girl is still in the back of that van, and she's still tied up, and she's still got the tape over her mouth. Rio and Cowrie are nowhere close enough to save her, so they're just kind of like in oh shit moment.
Yeah, they're like, Yukari, are you okay? And she's like,
So, literally, the only person close enough is this fat, aging stepdad trying to chase this van down a hill, and he's keeping up. Like, this old-ass dude is keeping up with a van that's in neutral and not in park, rolling down a hill to the seaside. And he gets to the door, and he's like, I can't open the door is locked. And he's still running alongside the van, and
Yukari's just like...
And Ryo is like, well, I'm pretty far away, but let me help out. And he pulls out his gun, and he shoots the door lock. Dude is still running next to the door, and he manages to open the door, jump in, while it's still going downhill. Is it not picking up speed?
It should be picking up speed. Gravity still exists here.
He's still going. That he jumps in this car, and he doesn't successfully stop the van. That's the part that I think is crazy, is that he does manage to get in, and he does manage to get behind the steering wheel, and he does manage to turn the van away from the ocean. To turn it into a skid, yeah. To turn it into a skid. Unfortunately, it's still a van, and it's also still going downhill, so it still rolls over, and just before it rolls into the ocean, he jumps out
of the back.
The back, like this van's got a back door where a trunk would be,
right?
That swings open, and he's grabbed his stepdaughter, like, and they just
like the way that Peter Parker grabs Mary Jane when they're dodging the car in Spider-Man 2 is what I'm saying to you.
And again, this is just gnarly animation of this car. The van is roll into the ocean.
Splash.
Yeah, they lived. That old dude could run when it really counted.
Well, yeah, because it's to show that he actually cares. I mean, what greater way is there to show it than to run faster than Ryo, who we've documented here can run at least 25 miles an hour. Or 35 miles an hour.
Something like that. I'll tell you what's better than that. Showing your daughter or stepdaughter that she cares by slapping her in the face. That's a thing that comes up in a little bit here.
Well, yeah, so first, Ryo, while Footsteps is playing, we gotta mention that, as the two crooks get out of their car and are trying to get away, he disarms them, ties them up. So that's covered. Mm-hmm. So now we have to make sure Yukari is okay, but yeah, just like you said, as soon as they're out of the roll, as soon as they're on stable ground, the first thing that Eizo does is slap the ever-loving crap out of her. Which, like, wrong move, dude. Like, I get you're offended, but now's not the time.
Just so mad, like, oh my god, I can't believe you told people that you thought I was gonna kill you. I can't believe you would even think of me as being somebody who would want to kill you. I am so offended. By the way, I love you. And she's just like, oh, thanks, stepdad. He just...
Like, unfortunately, it comes off as this really terrible, he hit me because he loves me.
Because he did just do a very loving thing a second ago.
And then followed it up with a very not loving thing. I think he shouldn't have done that.
Yeah, it really did kind of, I don't know about nullify, like,
in my opinion, it did.
I mean, you've chased a whole ass van down a hill and then jumped out of a moving vehicle to save her. But then you took a couple of steps backward with the slap. Is all I'm
it's
saying.
Mood whiplash is what it is.
Yeah.
Like, for the purposes of the episode, it does convince Yukari that her stepdad does in fact care about her, and they both break down crying in each other's arms, which is great for the two of them. It's just, nowadays, that scene would not fly.
No. Japan likes to do a lot of those, too, where a slap really means, like, I wouldn't hit you if I didn't care about you, God.
Yeah, like, that's, at this point, getting on...
It's 35 years.
Oh, yeah, get right, because the movie 35th anniversary, you're right.
Yeah. I am 36. I was born in 1986. This season is in 1987.
Right, so yeah, 35 years removed.
Yes.
So 35 years later, don't hit your kids. You shouldn't have been doing it then. You sure as hell shouldn't do it now.
Glad we got that covered.
And so, I think it's a little funny that right after the slap and the reconciliation happens, Ryo and Cowdy just decide to GTFO.
They're just like, nah, I think they're good. They're gonna be just fine. I hope they at least talked to the mom to get their payment, though.
Well, yeah, because the dad's not gonna help right now, because as they're driving off, the dad's like, hey, who was that guy? And the daughter's like, oh, that was City Hunter. And the dad's like, never heard of him. I'm surprised you haven't heard of him. Your wife has his business card.
And so does your daughter's school's
groundskeeping guard.
Guard, yeah, guard lady. That was the word I was looking for.
And so yeah, that's the episode right there. So I guess it's kind of, I would almost classify it as bittersweet here at the end because yeah, it's really nice that he saved his stepdaughter, but the slap kind of ruins it.
I mean, otherwise, the animation in this episode's, again, super good for a number of different reasons. Up until the very end of the episode, it's real cartoony and rubbery and real well animated, actually. Because compared to the previous episode, where it looks like it was just animated out of production order, and the animation, it wasn't bad, but it was weird and inconsistent with the style of the rest of the series.
I agree.
But this one, when it got cartoony, it was City Hunter cartoony. It looked really good. And then it gets to the end of the episode, and suddenly, oh my god, all this action is happening, and you like really committed to some of this motion. It was gnarly, just nuts.
Like the physics of it, really, it seems like the animators paid a lot of attention to that this week. And yeah, it seems a little weird going from, like you said, last week to this week, but it shows that the quality of City Hunter, when it's at its best, it's really impressive. Mm-hmm. You know, showing that they can get that kind of motion, showing the cars drifting and showing the weight of the vehicles as they're rolling or taking these tight corners. And I really am impressed with it this week. It's not something we get all the time, but when we do get it, it's definitely a treat.
Treat! The second bag of M&Ms.
Oh yeah, we almost forgot that. So when we're at Coyote and Rio's apartment, on the counter there's another M&M's product placement, but specifically this time, we see it's a package of M&M's peanut.
Which we always know they're M&M's, they're peanut M&M's, because the bags are always yellow. But this time, not only was the bag yellow, it deliberately says, in English, peanuts. Yeah.
If we had a nickel for every time we saw an M&M's product placement in this episode of City Hunter, we'd have 2 nickels.
Which isn't a lot. It's just weird that it happened twice.
Yes.
You know, that quote that gets used way too often as of late.
And we just did it again.
Yeah.
So next week, we're going to get the beginning of a 2-parter involving, I don't know that she's a Yakuza princess. But
she's not, but the Yakuza do want her, and they want her business establishment.
Yes, so there's going to be fights for property, there's going to be somebody who wants to be put under Rio's tutelage.
There's going to be a bulldozer.
It's basically a sub-story in a Yakuza game.
Which is how we got those sub-stories in a Yakuza game, because this sounds like a thing that has happened before. Maybe at around that time.
Yep. And so we're going to get that 2-parter. And again, here in City Hunter, the first season, we don't get a lot of those. But again, warning you guys ahead of time, once we get to City Hunter 2, it's almost nothing but 2-parters.
Yeah, so the 2-parters in this particular season aren't a huge burden because they don't happen that often.
It's just, you really feel the weight. But here, it's a treat because they don't happen that often.
Exactly. So, come back next time when we cover the 37th episode of the TV series, Shinjuku Honor All the Way! The Kimono Beauty Wants to Be My Student, Part 1.
And if you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always find us both over on Twitter. I'm at JoshKnightTheFirst.
And I'm at MarzGurl. Thank you all so much for listening to our 36th episode of MokkoriPlay. And if you don't come back next episode, I'm gonna smack Josh in the face with a trash can lid.
I hope you cleaned it first.
No.